Hey, Coach, I'm so excited you found us on YouTube. First of all, go subscribe and like. That means so much to us, and we're trying to get to 100,000. That's kind of our goal. Second thing is make sure you go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. If you want to win more games, have more fun in less time, hundreds of videos, less than $1 a day. It's unbelievable. You get my personal email address. You get everything. You too can become a better basketball coach. Let me help you put some championship banners in your gym. So let me help you do that. Go over and check it out. Let's head off to the video. Okay, so we played in the KMOX tournament a long time ago. I don't even think they do it anymore.
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, it was in St. Louis. And then we went to Highlands. Are they the Bulldogs?
I honestly couldn't tell you.
They're in Illinois. They're really close to St. Louis. But
yeah.
So you get pretty mild weather there.
Oh man, if we don't like the weather, it'll change within the day.
Okay.
So the last the last 2 days have been 20-degree weather.
Okay.
And then the back on what's today? Tuesday. Back on Saturday, Sunday, it was 50s.
That's crazy.
So, man, it's unbelievable.
And you guys are you're full playing.
Missouri is. Now where I'm at teaching and coaching in Illinois, which is Anna, 30 minutes to the east of Cape.
Okay.
We are not playing.
Yeah, so, I'm not super optimistic about Illinois.
I'm not neither. I was telling somebody the other day it was probably 60-40 ratio of us not playing. So
yeah, Minnesota's going back because I've had a couple of coaches email me and ask me about face masks. I don't know why I'm the expert. I wrote an article on it. It was like I spent 20 minutes wrote an article on it, but I'm not really an expert on it. I have a bunch, but it sounds like Minnesota's going back next week and then hopefully playing, but they're like no crowd, full mask.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how Illinois is going to be if we get to play.
Yeah, I'd say 80% of our state's playing. But the ones that are playing is limited crowds.
Right.
And then full mask while you play, which is a joke. It's like if you watch the Wisconsin-Maryland game, what a joke. Like all like the whole Maryland was worse than Wisconsin, but all the assistants just wear a mask here the whole game.
It does nothing.
It's like, come on.
How do you play in a mask?
How do you play in a mask?
Yeah. I'm in Illinois too. I don't know how we're gonna do it if that's what we go to.
Well, they gave our guys an extra timeout. I don't know if that solves the problem.
I don't sub, so like, what am I supposed to do?
Well, that's what you got to. Hey, you know what I've heard too? This is what I've heard is surgical masks are the best to play in, and then you just throw them away because they're light and thin, and if they get sweaty, you get rid of it and you put another one on. That and the Under Armour ones are the two that I've heard are the best.
I was going to say the Under Armour ones have been pretty good, and then I've seen some masks where they have straps that not only go above your ears, but it's literally like a Velcro strap that goes behind your head for a more comfortable, snug fit. So
trust me, my guys would wear a helmet if I let them play right now. They would wear a bubble helmet. The mask is the least of my concerns, man.
Right.
Like, but I don't. Yeah. It's hard. It would definitely be hard to play with a mask. Yeah, and everybody that's on the sideline, all of them have to wear it, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I watched one game. Somebody sent me a game to watch and like comment on, and I think it was in Florida, and like 2 of the kids were wearing masks, and they subbed out like every minute, and like one of them was his best player. And I was like, well, you're in trouble if this kid has to sub out every minute.
Right.
Because you don't really have much else.
But it doesn't really, I think it's mental.
Yeah.
It's gotta be. It's like, it does
like
not.
Claustrophobic type stuff. Yeah.
Well, I don't think it affects your breathing that much. The intake, everything I've read, it really doesn't affect. Yeah. Well, the game, I don't know if you watch many games, but the games aren't very good. Like the games I've watched aren't very good.
Yeah. There was a huge issue and debate on kids with asthma. playing with these masks on. What if they have an asthma attack in the middle? I mean, we're gonna have to, stop the game every few minutes for this kid to catch his breath again or get his inhaler.
I think that's what Steve was saying, though. It's such a misconception that you can't breathe in a mask.
Right.
Doctors,
Doctors do it all the time. They wear them all day.
Yeah.
And they're not running around. I get it, but they're not and they're wearing N95s. I have one N95 I got from when I did some spray painting. And I wear that for 15 minutes in the grocery store, and it's like, holy cow. And they wear that thing all day.
Yeah.
So it's got to be doable.
Yeah. My wife works in a hospital setting, and she is masked, 2 masks, and then a face shield. And then the whole body, basically saran wrap get up. I mean,
he's not going to get sick. You're safer than if I go back to school.
Right.
Yeah, trust me.
We've been back in school at 25% because we have almost 3,000 kids in our high school that I teach in. I teach in a different high school than I coach at, but I haven't been within 6 feet of a kid all year. Some kid started to walk by me, and I just stepped back. But I mean, we're at 25%, and I think by the Christmas break, only about 10% of the kids were actually coming to school. Yeah. It was 2 or 3 kids per hour.
What they don't get is it's not the same. It's not the same experience. That's what they don't get.
Yeah.
They think it's March 13th, and it's not. I mean, to be honest with you, most of them would rather be home and wake up in bed and flip their computer open and do it that way, to be honest with you. Hey, I got a question for you that I was talking to my assistants about. What's your rule on fouling in the last 10 seconds of a game? Do you foul? When do you foul?
I've always been I've always wanted to do the 3. If you're up 3, under 7 seconds foul. I totally agree with it. I think
the math. I just read a Brad Stevens. I'll send you the Brad Stevens article. I'm telling you, I'm gonna do it. I'm working on a spreadsheet right now. I'll share with you guys that football, you do this, because I want to do it, but I'm too freaking scared to do it.
So we had I'm always afraid that we're gonna give up. They're gonna make one, miss the second, kick it out, and I'm like, wait a second, that was the only way I could lose. Was that would happen. But so we played Maine East Maine South a couple of years ago. And I mean, their coach, we played one play of 1-3-1 and called it out in transition, and he back screened it for a lob dunk. They are the most disciplined team I've ever played in my life. He had 2 team fouls with 16 seconds left, and we did not get the ball across half court. They fouled us, and we shot they just continued to foul us. We just kept losing 2 seconds. And it was the most frustrating thing ever.
You know what? But I bet he's practiced that. That's
absolutely.
I think the key to that is because if you watch, what game was it? The Badger Marquette game where Trice fouled and then we didn't box. I mean, everything had to happen just right, and that's 1 out of 1,000. It just doesn't happen. I think my only concern, and this is why I asked the question, my only concern is I sometimes don't have the sharpest tools in the shed on the court, and I'm worried if I tell them to foul, they'll literally tackle them. So
get a tech.
Yeah, no, or they'll get a deliberate foul. So I think the key to that is teaching them how to foul.
As they cross half court.
Yeah, when to foul, how to foul. Because under 7, up 3, I think you gotta foul. I do. And this is 30 plus years of coaching. I've won a hell of a lot of games, and I have never really wanted to do it. I think I have to start. I think the math behind it, this is what COVID will do to you, says that you're not going to lose. You're not going to lose. You're not.
Carolina lost to Duke by doing it.
Okay, so the stats teacher is saying you're fine. You're giving me 1.
I know.
And I bet I can find 10,000 that's not the case.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think it's about making sure you're teaching out proper boxing out too during the free throws.
Right, and the thing is,
that hurts the
in high school. Okay, so let's say you foul, And okay, so you're up 3. And so what exactly has to happen for them to beat you? Okay, so it's 7 seconds, right? And you foul. So they go to the free throw line. That means they got they got to make one of 2 things. They have to make it,
right,
and then miss, get the rebound, and then put it back in.
Do you know if he did it? But do you know if he did it based off an NBA analytics, or is it?
Well, I don't think I'd do it unless I had 2 guys I trust to box out.
Right.
I definitely think that's a key. If I got 5'11" guys going against 6'4", I don't know if I would do it. But the missing is harder than you think unless you really practice it. Like the making the miss is hard. That miss is hard.
Right.
Like that's a skill that people don't practice.
Is there a certain time you should do it at? Like so that you don't.
I think it's less than 7 is the magic number. Because let's say they make, miss, and then they foul you. You're probably down to 5. You the key is to get that thing from 7 to 5 to 3 to get the time, like you said, every 2 seconds. I think the chances of, and when I'll show you the thing that Stevens did when he was at DePaul. The chances of them coming down and hitting a 3 is much better than them making a free throw, missing a free throw, and putting it back in, or missing a free throw, kicking it back out, and hitting a 3. That probability, this is the math teacher, is so low that it's much higher that they come down and shoot an off. Think about all the ones we've seen at the end of a game where they just, just wet and it goes in and that's overtime.
The numbers make sense because even making a free throw at a high school level, 55 to 60% mostly free throw shooters. So they got to make the shot, and so you're already.
And then to tell them to miss and to be able to get the rebound and to have a play to do, the chances of losing, I think, are relatively small. Like they are small. They're like 0.0.
You're good at your victory inbounds play or sideline inbounds play.
You do something where you get fouled and then you I don't know. I've been really playing. So I'm working on like a football spreadsheet thing with situations. And I can't say I've done this. And my assistant coach, who's now my RAD, was always hounding me to do it. And I'm like, you, Brett, I was like, oh my God, if I do it, we'll lose.
I have done it. And it's, you would hope at varsity basketball too, you have refs that know what's coming or something like that.
That's true.
When I first started coaching, we were so bad. My opinion was that we didn't do a lot of specials. We didn't spend a lot of time on specials because we had to spend all of our time. These weren't basketball players; they were football and baseball players that were playing basketball. And I was like, we're just gonna keep it really simple. And I thought that fit us. I see guys that are first year coaching, we're gonna spend 20 minutes a day on special situations.
Oh, good luck.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And Shoot,
and
I'm
you're
trying to
still
teach you how to
get,
grab the ball at that time.
And you're still going to get a ton that you've never worked on. And I'm like you, Steve. I hoard timeouts. I don't sub or call timeouts.
I'll send you a video of my 2011 state championship game. We won in triple overtime, state finals, only triple overtime in 100 plus years of Wisconsin State tournament. And the only reason I won it is I had timeouts left. Only reason. Because I literally did what you did, that other coach was doing to you. I'd foul, they'd shoot, they'd make 2, we'd make a 2. Then they'd make 1, and then we'd make a 2. And I just was able to slowly get it back. And then it was either the first overtime or the second overtime. The kid did a Weber timeout and didn't have one. And then my point guard went, and it was a great game. It was one of the best games I've ever seen, and I was able to coach it. But I'm telling you, I hoard them because I can control the clock down the stretch.
We played Proviso East. It was going to be our first conference loss of the season. We were at their place down 3 with 1.9 or 2 seconds left, I think. And we knew they were going to foul. They're not the most disciplined team in the world, but I think my coach is I literally heard their coach yelling, make sure you foul the right guy.
Right.
Through it. We had a play where we drew it up. We've never worked on this. threw it to a guy who caught it in the air and threw it right back to the inbounder who drilled a 3 in the corner. Because that's the other thing. Like, it's really hard to inbound it and not get fouled in that situation.
I know.
You have no way to
I know.
win.
I'll give you some advice that I've learned and I've said this on my podcast maybe a couple times, but and this is going back to hoarding timeouts. On a loose ball, we never call a timeout ever. So my guys know that the ball's on the floor, it's a scrum. We're going to get it, and that they're looking to pass it out of that scrum. Because think about how valuable is that possession in the second quarter on a loose ball? Really, this is a math teacher in me. Really, is it that important for me to have the ball there in the second quarter? I'm not burning a timeout there. So on those scrums, we practice it, and I say, you will get in trouble. If you call a timeout, I'll call one if we need one, but you will never call a timeout on a loose ball, ever. Like, I hate the ones when they're jumping out of bounds and they call a timeout and it's 3 minutes into the game. It's like, that possession means nothing at that point. But that timeout, like you said, Brett, is gold down the stretch if I need it. Like, so it's an advantage that I don't think a lot of people have figured out and we have an advantage because no one knows we do that. Like, they don't know that we're never calling a timeout on the scrum ball ever. Like,
that's interesting you say that, because haven't you had situations where the momentum has maybe shifted or changed because you perhaps didn't call the timeout in that instant?
If one possession causes it, I got bigger issues if it's one possession that causes it to shift. Now, you might lose it and the guy goes down and dunks on you, and then maybe that's a possession thing. But I've probably done this for 15 years. I can probably name maybe one or twice if that's ever happened. But no, and I'll tell you another thing. My assistant and I were texting back and forth today. I don't know if you watched the Badger Maryland game, but Maryland went to a zone for about 3 minutes in that game, and that's the reason they won, because the Badgers didn't know what to do. So this is where we've been playing with the math of, like, and I've said this on the podcast too, like, usually it's 3 possessions and we'll get out of it. So we're going back right now and tracking last season's games and figuring out, okay, what happens if this, how many 3 possession scores did the opponents have where we should have maybe changed up defensively to get them out of their sync? So we're going back right now. This is what we do when we're home for vacation on COVID. So we're going back and looking at film and huddle and figuring out, okay, how many times did they score, and we didn't change up? And then they, like you said, it's a momentum thing. Like, it's not that quantifiable thing that you can, Brett and I have coached a long time, so you can kind of sense it, but there's really no, I want something quantifiable that it's like, okay, look, they scored, boom, boom, boom. We got to get out of that. And I saw it again in the Badger Maryland game. It was perfect. The Maryland coach, they did it perfectly. Just went to that zone for a couple minutes. It got the Badgers kind of out of sync, and then poof, that's all it took. And the Badgers were scrambling the rest of the game. So it's, again, something we're playing with to see if it works, but I think it will.
I like it. We've done that exact same thing before with 3.
I'm trying to come up. Here's what I'm trying to do, Brett. I'm trying to come up with a chart to give to a damn assistant coach and go, here.
Yeah. And
then you tap me on the shoulder, because I don't know. You're in the fog of war at that point. So it's like, so we're still working on that, how that form will kind of look. But
I tell people all the time that are just getting into coaching, I'm like, don't be the guy that's like, we're just going to play man and that's all we're going to do. Because then eventually you're going to be like, well, I don't have a team to coach. And that was my
first of all, you're going to get somebody that's a better coach than you and has more talent than you.
Yeah.
They're going to beat you.
We played, we even went, and I'm a man-to-man guy. I'm not a.
I am too.
Guy. I don't think we played a possession of zone this year, but we were really good.
Right.
Like I've had teams.
When you're really good, from someone that's had really good play, I could literally have sat on the sideline in a lawn chair and had a margarita, and it wouldn't. Swear to God. Like, okay, you guys want to go press, it doesn't matter. It doesn't, as long as they're playing hard. Yeah.
We used to have a 2-3 that we never even worked on. We would just throw it in, and make a team prove they could go against it like every once in a while. And we would be pressuring all over the place, not causing any turnovers. And we'd go to a 2-3 that was not real aggressive, but not like on the elbows, throwing it out of bounds, throwing it right to hitting guys in the chest because they couldn't throw no good pass. And we're like, what the hell? We just pressed all game and caused 6 turnovers, and we got 6 out of our 2-3.
No, and the thing is, if you're a pressing team, this is a funny thing too. If you're a pressing team and you just kind of take it off for 2 minutes, it's almost like the other guards are shell shocked. It's kind of like war. Like if you've just been bombed for so long, you just think everything's coming at you.
Yeah.
They get
Shaka did that at VCU when they were right in the height of all their pressure stuff, full court all game. All of a sudden they're sitting in a 2-3,
right,
and it's just a different game.
Right, and it's like this shock of like, I don't know, it's funny. It's so funny. Hey, Bill, we got about 6 inches of snow here, so I know you're jealous living in California.
Oh, absolutely.
The snowblower's been out once already. It's coming the second time soon.
Oh man, I'm freezing and it's 50 degrees out.
Fred, are you getting hit? Are you getting hit in Illinois?
We've got about 4 inches.
4 inches.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up. It's funny when sorry I was a little bit late, but the conversation you were having about calling the timeout on a loose ball. I swear to you that it's been one of those things in my basketball career that I always I never do it either. Never. Very rarely, I should say never. Very rarely. But I always had assistant coaches or other coaches look at me like, and parents, okay, is he going to call the timeout?
No.
Is it coming now? What about, and then question me afterwards. Why didn't you call, not like, hey, I'm curious, why didn't you call it? Like, why didn't you call that timeout? I'm like, because it really doesn't matter.
Right.
It didn't really matter, right? Or even, I don't know how you guys feel about this, the saved loose balls, right? Reaching out of bounds, trying to.
Yeah, we were talking about that. That okay. Like diving out and
diving and then throwing it in.
Those. It's like,
yeah, okay.
There's plenty of those to call in the fourth quarter. Like when you're up 6 and all of a sudden there's a scrum, great time.
Right, and then we have rules about that. Like I'll tell them coming out of a 30, I said, hey, loose ball, we're taking one now. Like they got to be able to shift, but it's like anything. Most of the game, we're not calling one, and it's like I'm telling you, and we did chart this a year ago or 2 years ago. We got like 85% of the balls, like because we knew we were diving on it, and then the other 4 guys know that they can get the ball and go do something. Like, so they're all excited because it's like someone's on the floor, and now they know we're not going to like have to set aside out of bounds. So the other 4 are moving to try to get the ball because usually there's an advantage at that point.
I did this loose ball drill that is so stupid, but we would be going along doing our practice, whatever, and I would just throw a ball, right, or 2 balls, yell out loose, and I want to see girls, and I want to see all 12 girls fighting for that ball, and it translated to the game. It was just completely random, though. It wasn't like we're doing the loose ball drill now, right? It was just completely random.
I like that. I like that they're doing it in the. I've never done it in the middle of I've done the like switch drill, but I've never done it in the middle. I like that.
Yeah, just randomly, just whenever I felt like it, if we, just call it out loose, and I would throw the ball to the opposite end of the court, and everybody would just better go and chase it down. Most of the times they did.
Yeah, we make that competition. The last person to touch the ball had to do like burpees or maybe a down.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we did too. Yeah,
your hand on it. I know. I'm always worried about somebody breaking a wrist or something. There's I have doctors who are, or I have a friend who's a hand doctor, and he's explained how many little bones there are in here, and it freaks me out. Because
I had one player literally land on top of the ball, knock his breath out for a good minute or 2.
No.
I'm thinking about like that. All right. Does anybody have any specific things they want to talk about? I'm giving you my like philosophy stuff.
I had a question stemming from last week. Probably open to anybody. Do y'all have a set process as when you put in a new play, how to make sure that the kids grasp the full concept. Because what I found is when I put something in, every player learns like one position in the play. But then when it comes game time, the substitutions are all kind of mixed up, and then like, for example, even on defense, I was doing a 1-3-1 press, and this kid was used to playing on the left. He's like, "Coach, I've never played on the right," and I was like, "It's the same thing." It's just, do y'all have a process of making sure that everyone understands the concept of the entire play?
I know for me, and this is a great example because last season we had two of our best players. We had the first one get sick, and then we had another one literally 2 or 3 days later break his hand while the first player came back. So I made sure that we had at least a good chunk of days before our next game. I would probably say 2 or 3 days, would probably be, for me personally, ideal. I don't know about the rest of your coaches, but just 2 or 3 days, before your next game. That way you can introduce it and then kind of have them go through it. And then the next day, maybe implement some drills or some sort of aspects of the offense. And then maybe your third day before the game, run it live against defense. That's kind of personally how I would do it. Or, obviously naturally at the beginning of the season, but, if you have different personnel coming in and out, I would definitely find a chunk of days before your next game to kind of, see what your players can pick up and not pick up with it. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense for you, man.
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm looking for like a step-by-step process. This is, we first we draw it on the board, and then we, because
that's why I don't know what anybody said, but the teacher in me is going to tell you everyone learns differently.
Right.
So one kid has to walk through it. Two starters might have to see it on paper. Another starter might need to see video. So you basically, every way a kid can possibly learn, you have to make. One kid might need to draw it out. Like, that's why I have a handbook. I make them bring a notebook to all our stuff. Some kids learn by actually doing it themselves. Some of them can actually see it once. So you literally have to do it every possible way, because they're all. I mean, I might have a kid that has 100 IQ, which is average for those of you. I'm a stats teacher, and then I might have a kid that has 165 IQ on the same floor. So it's like, this kid's going to learn one way, this kid's going to learn the other. Right. So from a learning standpoint, that's what I've learned, is I got to give them as many, because I'm not sure which one's going to click. Mm-hmm. That's why I still do paper scouts, and I still do our scout together, and then I send it to them, and then I make them walk through it, and I do, because I'm never 100% sure which way. By the end of the season, I kind of know how they all learn, but definitely not early.
I know I drew it out first, and then those players who do get it, for example, will come with me, and then those who aren't 100% sure about the play would go with the assistant coach, and then they can go through it more in depth, more step by step. That way at the end of the practice, hopefully, everyone's goal is to be on the same page.
And you can notice it in out of bounds plays a little bit, in the sense that I'm right. Like, the kid that has no idea is always throwing it in or something because they're clueless. But I mean, you just got to move. You got to make them go to other spots.
Right. That's
like, you have, okay, go to a spot you haven't been to, go to a spot. I have found that drawing out themselves, first of all, it's comical the first time you do it, because none of them can draw a basketball court. Right. Literally, the lane will look like this. I swear to God, it looks like it's crazy. They can't even draw. It's horrible. But make them draw some courts, and then actually, that has really worked well recently for me. And I'll do that actually pre-game on opposing teams. So we'll do a couple things that I've done recently that I've seen to work. We'll do a scout. We'll get to the school. Sophomores are playing. We'll go find a classroom at the school, and I'll bring a little thing, and we'll watch 5 minutes of tape just to remind them of the keys. And then I will give them a blank scout and say, "Here you go." And they are freaked out, because we're playing in 40 minutes. And if they don't know it, and I see they don't know it, it's like, well, I guess are you ready? Like, and again, if my star doesn't get it, I'll tend to work with them. Okay. But
Changing the offense.
yeah, we'll figure something out. But it's like, the sixth man doesn't get it. It's like, ooh, are you really ready, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, I like Steve. I show them multiple ways of doing it. I found I give them a blank, 8.5 by 11 basketball court. They draw it out themselves. Then I have them show their parents, and then their parents have to sign it, and then they bring it back to me signed that they showed their parents. And a lot of the parents appreciate that, just to be, involved.
To be talking to their kids.
Yeah, exactly. But the teacher in me, and I'm not a teacher, trained teacher, but I always think that if you can show someone how to do it, you really have to think it through and know every step. And I think that's key for some learners. Video.
That's a great point. That's a great point, Bill, that the best way to learn something is to teach it.
Yeah.
I remember this was an eon ago. I walked into a teaching class, and the professor handed me a rule sheet for a card game and said, now you have to teach everybody this card game. And it was like, holy crud. It was like one of the hardest things I've ever done, because I could probably still teach you that card game, because I learned
exactly.
it in 20 minutes. And because I had to learn it, then I had to teach it to someone else.
Yeah.
Teach someone how to play sheep's head or euchre or something like that.
Right.
Like that. So I think that's a great point, is like, that's why sometimes I put, like, when we do breakdown and we're doing, I don't know if Brett does this too with his team, but I'll put 5 guys and I'll have them run through it. And then I said, all 5 of you are responsible. If we don't get this, there's going to be a consequence or something. The other ones, the ones that get it will help the ones that don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's that built-in teacher, and the, like, holy crud, we don't
have them teach, like, if it's a varsity player, have them teach it to the sophomore team, sophomore to the freshman.
Yeah, peer-to-peer.
I just want to know, is Sheep's Head a real game, or is this a Wisconsin game that you?
That's a Wisconsin game.
You've never played Sheep's Head?
No.
Okay,
I would put
it in my top 10 games of all time. Probably.
I don't know how to play euchre for the exact.
Oh my gosh, euchre's like the easy man. I can actually have a couple drinks and play euchre, because there aren't that many trump. It's like trying to play bridge or sheep's head. If you start drinking, you'll miss stuff. You can't really do it. Euchre I could do in my sleep.
I've got one that's like not anything to do with what these guys have been talking about with teaching, but we've made an adjustment. I've actually been working on something for Teach Hoops with this. So we blew up the way we call, like, players, like positions. So we do, and I think this helps them actually remember it, because they only have to remember 2 positions. So we call everything, we got rid of post players, and I have had stud post players. Like, I've been blessed every year I've been a varsity coach. I've had the best post player.
Okay, so before we go any farther, Brett, Bill's laughing right now because we were talking this afternoon about positions. It's like the number 2 search engine for basketball coaches is basketball positions. So I think that's funny that you're basically nuking that. I think it's funny.
So we call our bigs stretch guys. So, like, you're not a post anymore. You're a stretch. Even if I will never play you on the perimeter, you can still be listed as a stretch. And then wings, and we might sometimes say it's a guard or whatever, but we run like a lot of 1-3-1 sets, a lot of horn sets, and it folds right into that. Everything we do, until the end of the game, we always have our 4 and 5 take the ball out. So, like, they always trail our point guard. So, like, we have the first stretch goes to the rim, or whatever your philosophy is on your transition. The second stretch is the trailer. If we're doing a horn set, you have 2 guys that go to the stretch. And then you only put your smartest players as guys that play both. Like, those are only, like, you do not put stupid guys that play both. But, like, I have one of my best.
So you don't have, like, a guy that brings, so any of the wings can bring the ball up?
Well, that's where we will make some changes. Like, we might designate, like, a third position as a guard. And usually they kind of figure it out. Like, there's always a guard that wants nothing to do with bringing the ball up the court versus pressure. There's ones that have to. But really, I think that's helped us, because then it gives them, like, a little bit better idea of like what to do on the floor, of where to go, like what kind of a role do I have as a stretch guy or a guard, like we don't run a big to the post anymore, because even when I had a 6'11" Division I kid that played in the Big Ten, he could never score on rim running, and it kept my
I
guard.
swear to God, if I watch one more video on YouTube about rim run, it's I've had pro guys, I've had Big Ten guys, I've had SEC guys that are like 6'9", and they've never scored on that cut.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
I think I had Barrett Benson, who played at Northwestern. The kid literally scored like 12 points on like transition rim. Now he got some breakouts and threw down some pretty big dunks, but that's not a rim run what they're talking about. Steve, the one I really liked, I was actually watching somebody talk about two-side break on your thing, and he had the guy stop at the free throw line, and that's one of the things we've started doing, of talking about stopping there. And hell, we'll even have the first stretch run to the free throw line. If you don't get an easy basket, turn around and back screen the other stretch.
Yeah, I like that. I like that two-sided break, because what it does is it leaves the other side open too. So then if you got somebody that can create and gets the ball on that side, I do like that. I've never had any chance with the rim running. I know, it's crazy.
And it blocks your guard from getting to the rim. You have your player and their guy basically guarding the rim.
This is another good discussion. For years, and I always thought as a young coach too, and even an old coach, thinking, God, am I doing this wrong? Because I always talk to the girls about, if basketball were hard, I wouldn't be coaching. And what I really mean by that is I break the game down in very simple things. And if I had to remember every position and what every name is and what every, I'm just like, okay, I can't do it. Right. So I dumbed it down, and I don't play positions, right? Everybody either, and it's not necessarily positionless, and they have things that they need to do, but everybody's a guard, right? And anybody can bring, I want to train every single player to bring the ball up. Now, obviously some are better than others, but there's going to be, a few scenarios, and I've had it happen where, one game I had, oh my God, this is embarrassing, but I'll tell it anyway. I was up by 30 points and lost the game. 5 of my starters went out, down. One right after halftime, all 5 just went boom, 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 out, ankle injury, whatever it was, just right in a row. We lost the game by a basket, right? And I didn't properly train, 5 through 10, bring up the ball. They were, and I'm like, okay, I can't. This is dumb, right? So.
No, but I think what you two are talking about is marketing, though, a little bit. Like, no guard thinks they're big. Every big thinks they're a guard.
Correct.
That's
yes.
right. Yes. Like, I never thought I was a big. I never wanted to post up. So it's like you basically just got to remarket it to them.
Mm-hmm. Like, Steve, when I had Bear Benson, first possession of our very first game, we're playing somebody that's not very good, so this is easier to do. He shoots a transition 3. He's 6'11". We have never once shot a transition 3 with this kid in his life. I called a timeout in the first quarter. That's how pissed off I was of my big, thinking he was a guard. And I called a 30-second timeout, and I just looked and he goes, Coach, I just got really excited. I'm sorry, it's first game. Never did it again.
I love when they apologize before, like literally they'll like, because they know you and I love timeouts. So if I call one, and first of all, if I call one and I'm running out toward them, they know the crap's hitting the fan at that point. Like, oops, like sorry, coach, sorry. It's like, yeah, I love the good 30 that I meet them at the elbow, and it's like we have a little
great teaching point when
far away from mom and dad behind the bench. It's like, all right, we got to have a discussion out here in the middle of the damn court, because this ain't
I had to ban the name Heat Check, because every player would shoot one and be like, Coach, it's a heat check.
Oh,
I was like, stop
watching YouTube.
Yeah, heat check, Coach, heat check. Sit down.
Hey, Coach, so pumped that you found us. Make sure you like the video. That helps us a ton. Make sure you subscribe and like, and also go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better.
Yeah.
But then you have some other kid that's not allowed to shoot, and he's like, "What the hell? That kid gets to shoot a heat check and can come out of the game."
Yeah, Dean
then
Smith
you allow them to
famously.
shoot,
Yeah.
and then you allow them to shoot, and then they know exactly why they are not allowed to shoot as soon as they airball it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I know.
Dean Smith famously one time a player said, "Coach, sorry man, I was feeling it," and he said, "You can feel the bench then." It's good.
Feel over there.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we answered your question.
No, it's good. I mean, because it's a process, and I think because this is so I did middle school for 1 year, and then I did high school last year, so this is my only second year in high school, and it's that continuity of really building a process, and I know it changes whatever team that you have because it's you have different IQs and stuff like that.
And you do, and you have different. It's like having a different class. I don't know. At some point, I was talking to somebody about like, I teach 5 classes a day. All 5 are different. They all have personalities. Some of them I like, some of them I don't necessarily like.
Right.
All of them together just don't work. It's the same with teams. It's like there's been teams. I mean, there's been teams I've had to call practice off because it's just too competitive. Like someone's gonna get hurt.
Right.
And then there's other teams. It's like, does anybody have a competitive bone in their body?
Right.
So it's the same thing with teaching them a drill or teaching them a play. Some of them, it's like, it's going to be like, this is easy.
Yeah.
And then some of them, it's going to be like, oh my God, how do I do this?
Because I definitely floated more towards, concepts, versus like set quick hitters.
Yeah. And I don't think you need, I think keep it simple. The KISS method, keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
I think sets are fine.
Yeah.
I personally like to change, good players are going to be able to create on their own. You're not necessarily going to need sets. But yeah, you can overset them because to be honest with you, if I can't remember the 12 sets, they're not going to remember the 12 sets. So that I'm a firm believer in keeping that, I'd rather spend my time on changing up defenses or trapping in the corner and trying to turn somebody over than putting 3 more sets in that are going to be average at best. And you'll love this. Brett was part of our coaching meeting on Sunday. It's like, hey, because I sent him the video last week, my assistants, I said, hey, I like this ball screen thing. And that's where you got to start having discussions with people too. It's like, so then one of my assistants goes, oh, we could do this. And then we could do this. But then I have another assistant says, don't keep adding to it. Keep it simple. Don't add 12 things. Let's, and that's why I like that set that you showed last week, because it was so simple. Ding, ding, and you're done.
There's a sales job to it too. Cause I think Brett mentioned this last week of when the players buy into a play, it's going to work. It's going to be exponentially more successful than,
if they all think they got a shot to shoot. I'm telling you, they don't have to necessarily, like, you can pull your point guard. This kid never needs to get the ball. Don't worry about it. But they all have to think they've got something, even on out of bounds plays. They all have to think they got a shot at it. The only one that doesn't probably is the one throwing it in. The other 4 better think they got a shot to get a shot off, or they're not going to screen. I mean, they're teenagers. They just so.
And I don't know what I missed, so I had to get another drink. But the one drill that I do have that I think if it'll show you if your kids know what your concepts are. So we'll do like that add transition drill. So we'll start off a guy shooting a free throw, and then it goes 2-on-1 to 1 in, and then you add defenders. And then when we get to 5-on-5, okay, now you have to run our offense. So they're tired. Some of them have already gone up and down the floor like 5 or 6 times. Now, we have to actually run our offense. The other thing I would say, whenever you're doing stuff, don't always start at the top of the key. That's one thing I've tried getting way better at. I'll even give the defense the ball, and they can throw it to anybody within reason to start the offense. So, if we're a true motion 4-out offense, they can literally start and throw it to the corner, and we have to run our offense there. I don't know if I would try that week 1.
Right.
That's not a week 1 type thing, but we do a lot of 3-on-3 like that, or 3-on-2, 2-on-3, where the defense has the ball and they can throw it, because your kids will always start at the point. And then you're going to play somebody that's going to pin your ass to the sideline the first game, an old school trick that you can just dominate teams at the beginning of the year because they can't run their offense from one sideline. And like I think both of those I've kind of picked up on over the years of being able to do.
I do a lot of working on our offense out of the defense. So we'll be like working on our 1-3-1, and then we call them one trips, and then we'll go one way the other direction. That way they'll get it'll be better flow. I found that to be helpful rather than sitting in the half court and working on it. I'll show it to them, and then we're going to do one trips. Like we're going to work on our defense for 30 seconds, and then whether they make the shot or miss it, we're going to take it and go the other direction. It gives a better feel to the game than just doing it. Just doing it in the half court is not realistic. To like, why am I doing this kind of thing?
We do a ton of offense, defense, offense, or the opposite. Like this year, we never scrimmaged. One, it was like made my best team so much worse going against the other team. Like there was nothing after 3 possessions we could even get out of it. We were better working on concepts where I would literally take my 6 best players and work on 3-on-3 concepts and leave, because we usually keep 15 guys, 10 through 15. They have no idea what the hell's going on whatsoever. Right. And like, I mean, I had a kid this year, I kept him just so I didn't have to keep a couple of other guys that I knew were going to be an issue. And he was going to come. He cheered his ass off on the end of the bench. Like that's why
I'm telling you, for young coaches, 12 through 15 is the key to a good season.
Yeah.
Both from sanity and team building. Man, you better be 12 through 15 better understand where they are in the world.
They're in the 30-30-30 club. We're up by 30, we're down by 30, or there's only 30 seconds and we cannot leave.
Oh my God, I love that.
I like it. I like
Junior
it.
high level.
Wait, can you say that one more time with I want to write that one down here.
30-30-30 club. We're up by 30, we're down by 30, or we're there's only 30 seconds left and we can't possibly
So wait, with 2 minutes left and you're up by 20. Nah.
I'm gonna at some point that's gonna make social media. Like, do you want to be a 30-30 club member? If not, you better get out and shoot.
Yeah.
I love that.
I tell guys that. I'm like, look, you're working on being in the 30-30-30 club. And they're like, what's that? And I tell them, they're like, I don't want to be in that. And the very first, like, you're going to learn so much for assistants. You're going to learn so much from guys you coach with of what you do and don't want to do. And I learned that from the very first guy I ever coached with. And it was mostly things that you should never do. All right. Like he had a whole list of things. Like I caught a clipboard behind my head one time that he snapped over his knee. It was going into the crowd. I was like, Coach, we're brutal. Like we were down 6 to a JV team in a Christmas tournament or something. It's going to be our first win. And I was like, we're terrible. You cannot be surprised when we do stupid stuff out here. I mean, it was like the worst team I've ever seen in my life. But and because he had some other ones, some I can't say. Well, the best one he had was, but I can't say it whenever we have recording on.
Okay, don't say it. Yeah,
I'll give that one later.
I'm trying to find the invite here so someone just emailed me. What else do we want to talk about?
But y'all brought up the position list last year. Towards the second half of the year, we actually implemented. Whoever got the rebound actually starts taking the ball up. And it really helped us in transition because it took away that wasted time where, we're looking for the point guard. And it really helped. And I initially found it on YouTube is where I discovered it helped a lot just from a positionless standpoint.
Yeah, I've done that for years too. And the only exception to that rule is if the person can't just is awful dribbling. I always tell that, hey, look for your outlet, or more so I tell, hey, if she gets the ball, I say this to the point guard, right? You better go get it, right? So, but I think I get the ball, get up court, right? And even if it's just turn and go a few steps, so you find, till you find that wing or to guard, right, to get the ball or whatever it is.
And it made him not panic a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because we would get this girl, she would turn, go, and throw the ball away.
Right.
Or throw like or twist her legs and try to throw it. No, just take it and go. Take a couple dribbles and go right away.
I think a takeaway from that is the side discussions are so important. Like, because I don't want to embarrass kid X or kid Y. And if I trust the other kid, it's like, and they know they don't want to hurt their friend's feelings either. But it's like, you can't give him the ball there. Like, he's not going to do anything good there. Like, it's those side discussions that I would not have had in my 20s and 30s. I would just said it out loud. Now it's like, and then hopefully I build up a relationship enough with the person that has the ball in their hands a lot, that it's like, okay, let me explain how this works. You're my guy. So you can't give that person, like, I have assistant coaches that aren't as nice as I am, but it's like, that's not going to work out well for us if you're giving the ball there. Like, he's not catching the ball running at full speed down and that ball's going to bounce off his head every time. He can't catch it.
You're 5-man in traffic at the top.
Yeah, it's like so it's one of those things. It's like by the 4th or 5th time, they'll just shake their head like this. As I'm walking toward them, they'll just go. They'll know that it's like, I can't give them that ball there. And it's like, that's what worries me about COVID, to be honest with you. It's like, I don't think some of those things are being learned right now because they're not playing. And they didn't play a lot last summer together. I don't know what's going to happen this summer. It's like, it's those little nuances. That's why I think the games look ugly in Wisconsin right now.
They throw the transition pass up the court to like all the way to the baseline to some guy that can't do anything with it. Even if it was a good catch, it's to some guy that could, like, hey, that's our defensive guy out there. Why did you just throw him the ball there?
Right. He's standing outside 3-point line and why are you throwing it to him there? Like, he's not going to, like, yeah. I
tell another good coach who I tell guys all the time is, you're open for a reason. Either I wanted you to be open or their coach doesn't care that you were open. Like, that's
good.
Heard that one.
That's good.
I'm not as nice as Steve. Like, a couple years, I'll tell my guys, like, what are you doing throwing it to him? But I usually be like, he can dunk it if he's down here, or like get the layup down there. I have gotten nicer and added that. But like a couple years ago, I had a kid. I was just like, Destin can't shoot, and he's like, I'm like, dude, relax. You're going to play wide receiver at South Dakota State.
Right.
You're just play defense and stand in the corner and pass the ball.
I've had NFL receivers the same thing. It's like,
why you're
catch that ball, but he ain't gonna shoot it. Like, I've literally said that. Like, yeah, that's a Division I wide receiver. Great, but what's he gonna do with it? Like, he can't shoot outside 4 feet. Like, I know. It is true. That is true. Coach Hawkins, where do you coach?
Alabama.
Are you playing right now then?
Oh yeah. We've been to school every day and we played like 14 games, 15 games.
Oh man.
So, yeah. Oh yeah.
Masks or no masks? Man. It's good.
No, for the players, no mask. If you're on the court, they don't wear a mask. We started playing in late October, early November. And they started after Thanksgiving. They started making us wear masks on the bench, like the players on the bench. But on the court, no mask.
I figured Alabama would just maybe cancel sports once high school football was over.
Hey, we holding on. They cut right before Christmas. They cut gym attendance to 20% of capacity. So, and it's kind of hard.
Is it weird? It's got to be weird. Like I'm watching like the Badger Maryland game, or I'm watching the Michigan State Duke game. I think home court advantage is gone. I think it's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're Huh?
Yeah, I think it's travel advantage now. It's really hard to travel.
Yeah.
Well,
high school.
Oh, that's true. That's true. College, I never thought about that because like Wisconsin's got to go to Maryland or Maryland's got to come here, so that advantages that whole the travel thing. I never thought.
And the refs still call stuff in the Big Ten like they still screw people over at home. That Rutgers game.
They don't care if there's no one in the stands. It's like
like there's nobody here. How did you get influenced by the PA music guy?
Right.
The best part is you hear everything on TV now. used to it with the crowds, you couldn't hear anything, but now you hear
Right.
it
Well, I
all
think they're
through.
starting to pipe in noise just so you can't hear the players talking and stuff. I agree. So how's your season going then, Coach Hawkins?
Oh, we're not very good. But I mean,
let's help you. How can we help you?
Well, no, it's just it's sort of a culture school thing. So I'm a football guy by trade. Like that's what I do. And then, so I coach the defense for the football team, and I'm the head basketball coach. I started 2 years ago. This is my second basketball season. Well, the year before I got the job, they didn't win a game. So last year we won 3. And this year we won 3 already. So we're hoping that we're getting better. We're not very good, but we're getting better.
Are they competitive? Here's what I would say. Are they competitive?
Yes. Yeah, we're getting
that if they're competitive, you can make them better basketball players as long as they're competing.
They had and the kids, I mean, I give them credit. They play hard. We're just not great. So and I think, but they had in this community, they had like 3 or 4 year stretch where they didn't have like youth basketball. So like that's kind of what I'm in the middle of now. But like my 7th and 8th graders have been playing, and they're a pretty good little group. So I'm
telling you, I don't remember. I think I was talking to Bill this afternoon. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint, man. It's a marathon. It is, and it's like, yeah, like I'll tell you a story too. Like when I took over the job, they had like 6 winning seasons in like 30 years. First person I hired was like, I knew Wesley Matthews, who's playing for the Lakers now. He didn't play much recently, but I hired his uncle as my assistant, and I knew he was coming. So it's like you got to kind of, build that youth program, and it will. Yeah, that's where your bread is buttered coming.
Yeah,
you just got to hold on. Yeah,
that's right. So, but no, man, I just don't. Like I said, I've been coaching football for 15 years, and this is like I've been a basketball assistant under some good guys, but it was just kind of like I come in after football season, I work with the post guys, and I coach the 9th grade team, and so. I don't have like the depth of knowledge when it comes to basketball. So that's part of the reason why I'm here.
Keep it simple. Teach them 1 or 2 things. Brett's coached a long time too. He can help, and so is Phil. But my advice would be just keep it really simple. Teach them a couple things really well. And especially at the youth level for sure. Like teach them to play man, teach them to screen, teach them to shoot, teach them to shoot. Teach him to shoot.
Yeah.
Because if you can shoot and you can create, I can teach you the others. I can teach you in 4 months a decent defense. But I can't shoot 4 months.
Can't shoot, really offensive rebound. Chase philosophy.
Right.
I've had it. The predominantly best team in our conference, they are still hard to beat because they will play that way. They might shoot 20%, but like they ruin your statistics in every category because we play everybody twice in our conference. But like, and I've had like my old school, like we just had to outwork people. It was a football school that we were playing basketball, probably a lot like you're talking about, Jonathan, and like we were never going to outshoot people, but you were not going to touch the court if you weren't going to play hard, rebound, do that stuff. And hell, it might take us 2 or 3 offensive rebounds to put it back in. We didn't even have, people are like, what do you mean you didn't play transition defense? I'm like, we rebounded so hard, nobody even thought about running on us.
Yeah.
And we were athletic. We'd catch them.
Yeah.
Like you weren't gonna leak out against us.
Offensive rebounding is that thing. Like I've said this on my podcast. If you get an offensive rebound, you can shoot it. That's my rule. Like it's your ball. You went and got that. I don't care if you threw it over your head and close your eyes. Because
we've had some of that too.
But I'm just saying that if you tell them that, especially if you tell a teenage boy that, if you say, if you get the ball, you can shoot, they'll crash the boards. Like, I mean, they will like literally like, that's your bucket. That's you. Like, and if you get 5 or 6 of those a game and hit half of them, there's 6, 8 points. You can go home and, maybe your girlfriend will give you a kiss,
Yeah, we got some kids that can, this year we got a few kids that can shoot it a little bit. We're just not we're we're not very physically strong. And I got a couple kids that played a little basketball, but not a bunch. So it's like last year, like everything they knew about basketball, I had to teach them. And you know,
But I'm
like,
just saying, with that 7th and 8th grade group, I would like 10,000 shot club, shoot. I mean, literally teach them to score and shoot. That's all I would be doing with those young guys, and they'll like to do it because they can get on YouTube and find 16 different moves. But repetition, shoot threes, get shots up. I'm telling you, because you'll be able to ride that group if they can shoot. Because by the time they get to you, then you can teach them. All right, here's how we're gonna play man. Here's how we're gonna do this. But if they can't shoot, I don't know. You're gonna have to turn people over. Then it becomes a racetrack at that point.
Yeah.
Will, where do you coach at in Illinois?
Anna. So if you know where Carbon,
Anna Jonesboro.
yes, it is. Yeah.
I know I've heard the name. Is that in Southern Illinois?
It is. So Union County is Anna. So if you know where Carbondale is at, it's about 30 minutes. It's about 30 minutes southwest of Carbondale.
I grew up like straight north of St. Louis, which people can't figure out is in Illinois, but it's not like it's not a straight line. Like they don't get it. But
Right.
But people are like, yeah, down by Carbondale. I'm like, yeah, if you count 3.5 hours close.
Right.
Yeah. Like
We used to play in the St. Louis area. We played in the KMOX shootout. Brad, I was telling Will before you came on. And then we played in Highland, I think.
Yeah.
They're the Bulldogs or something. We played in that tournament. But that's really close to St. Louis, I think.
That KMOX shootout used to be like the #1 shootout in America.
Oh, it was crazy.
Like Vince Carter's rolling in.
Drew
like,
Holiday played there. I mean,
Yeah.
I was sitting outside getting interviewed for something, and then he walked in or out. I mean, he was a height like 16-year-old at that point or something. But oh yeah, that was like the thing. That was crazy.
And I mean, they used to play it at the Kiel Center. Like it wasn't like, then they moved it to high school, and then it moved to like Washington, Illinois, which is by Peoria. But it used to be like the best thing. And
oh, I got video of like Wesley and them doing it in the we had a shoot around in the empty, 18,000 foot square or seat thing. It was crazy. Yeah.
That's how crazy the player that Wesley Matthews is, and he wouldn't even make the top 20 KMOX shootout players.
I know.
That's how crazy that
14-year-old NBA and won't make no.
Like oh, Vince Carter scored 50 against.
I know, when you look at I got old books and stuff that they hand, like programs. It's like, oh my gosh.
I remember Jason Williams was there and did.
Sean Livingston was there.
Yeah. Livingston's the best player I've ever seen in high school in person.
He was crazy.
He would score 6 points, and like first of all, they had 3 Division I point guards on this team. But he would score 6 points and just be dominating the game. I saw him throw a 65-foot no-look pass in high school. I was like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
2-1 press.
And that's how he was so good that even he got hurt, and he was even able to come back from that and have the NBA career he's had.
I'm watching him at Redbird Arena at ISU in a super section game. He just jogs down and sticks his entire hand above the box on the backboard. Like didn't even like hardly jump. I'm like, oh my God. And this kid's a point guard. And then he ruined his leg, but
yeah, that's crazy.
But he would score. I mean, he only averaged like 12 points a game that year. And I mean, they had a lot of talent with him or whatever, but he was the smartest player I've ever seen in my life.
He's the prototype NBA guy now. That's the thing. He wasn't then, but he is. Like, he's that long, lanky, 6'7", 6'8", big wingspan, athletic. They weren't looking for those as much back then as they are now. But all I gotta say is the Bucks got Giannis. 5 more years, baby. Go Wisconsin.
They lost the Knicks, man.
I tell you, I listened to your 5-minute podcast today, which I really like.
Do you like it? Hey, everybody's got to leave a review for my new podcast, 5-minute basketball podcast. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to like boom, 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 boom. I got them like 2 months queued up. So yeah.
You're the rabbit hole test or whatever it is, the foxhole test.
Foxhole test.
So I did that one year with my guys, and I didn't have the directions. So it's kind of like running an offense where you kind of know the offense, but you don't really know how to teach it.
Mm-hmm.
So I did the foxhole test with my guys, and I give it to the kids. And I had this kid on my team. He was an awesome person, but his name was Wambugu, right? And he's nice.
Was he from Nigeria? Because
yeah, he's from Nigeria.
Yeah,
Couldn't
okay.
play a lick of basketball.
Dwayne.
But everybody loved Wambugu. Right? Every gym we went to, they started chanting Wambugu. Every kid put Wambugu on their list for people that would be in their foxhole. And while I did it wrong, I go, guys, this is exactly why we're 3 games under 500. You all chose Wambugu to be in your foxhole.
I don't even remember that. It's like I use the foxhole thing all the time. I use that.
I like your directions.
Huh?
That's the best directions I've ever heard to it.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, I've never seen them anywhere.
Okay. But it's like it tells you so much who like I always use war analogies and I probably shouldn't, but it's like, who do I want in my foxhole? Because literally half of you, if as soon as the shots go, you'd be running that way. Like it would be horrible.
Like you would have guys that when you had Wesley Matthews wouldn't have chose Wesley Matthews to be in.
Well, the problem is I'd have had they would have chose Wesley. They'd have chose my 5'9" point guard who was his best friend, and they would have chose his other best friend who was about 6'5". They would have chose those 3 would have literally eaten other people before they were going to let anything loose, you know. And the same thing with my state championship teams. I wish I could tell you what the secret is, but it's just there's this something happens. It's just crazy. I don't know. It's like falling in love. You're
really good, and they really buy in.
Yes, you're good, really and they all like kind of like when I won it in 2011. 2 or 3 weeks before we won it, no one was on the same ship. And my former assistant, who was then assistant principal, came in and had like a half-hour discussion with him in the locker room and said, you guys got to go. This is going to end if you guys don't all get on the same page. And the seniors finally came on, and it was just like a well-oiled machine at that point. I use that, and I use the wheelbarrow. Like are you going to get in my wheelbarrow, or are you not going to get in the wheelbarrow? Have you ever heard that story about the guy that wheelbarrowed his mom across the Niagara Falls?
No.
He kept asking for people to do it, and the only person that would go get in the wheelbarrow was his mom. And he's famous. If you Google it or YouTube it, he would walk across and make, you know, dinner on the tightrope and stuff. And it was like the Queen of England was there, and he would go up and he goes, "Will you get in my wheelbarrow and I'll wheelbarrow you across?" And he's already done it a bunch. And she goes, "No. The only person that would do it was his mother." And I said, so our whole premise is, are you going to get in the wheelbarrow, or are you not going to get in the wheelbarrow? Like, are you going to get in on the bus, or you're not going to get on the bus? And I show him the little video clip on YouTube about, like, you know, look at this guy. The only person that would get in his wheelbarrow was his mom. Well, we all need to get in the wheelbarrow because we all have to trust each other, kind of thing. It's good. It's sometimes you got to be quacky with them. But
in all your state champions, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No, Brett, you might be the only person that's listened to it because it literally went live this morning. So
I have 2 kids, so I can just listen to podcasts all the time.
And I thought it was a great idea, like 5 minutes. Like, sometimes I don't have time to listen to a podcast. I want something quick. Like give me something quick, and then I can just go on to the next thing. But go ahead, Jordan. I'm sorry.
Sorry. So all your championship teams, do you remember a defining moment where you're like, okay, we got a shot?
Yes. Usually there was a loss involved in it.
There's a lot. Yeah. That's how they reacted.
Yeah, there was a loss. Yeah, I would say there was a loss mid-January, February that they go, whoa, someone just punched us and we didn't like it. Or a loss the season before, something like that. There was always a moment. Now, you don't necessarily know the moment at the time.
Right.
But there was always this like, whoa, back up, you know, like that. We just turned the corner in there. Yeah, so I think there's yeah. And the thing is, to be honest with you, there's been teams that haven't won it that we've had that turning moment and played really well, and then lost in the finals or something. Because there's luck involved. Like, someone shoots, 67% from three, you're gonna lose. I mean, there's things outside of your control too. So I've had a couple that have lost it that could have easily won other years, or if the ball, somebody doesn't get fouled. I mean, there's the other variables. The math teacher kind of freaks out at that point, but yeah.
It is very dependent on the kids.
Yeah.
Like we had a game that was just exactly like what Steve's talking about this year. It was a rival school. It's like a school that's produced all these NBA players, all this in the Chicagoland area. They're in our conference, and we're way better than them, and they are beating the crap out of us at halftime. And I just walked in the locker room and I just said to my guys, what could I possibly say to you right now? And left. And the kids, like, they got up and started like telling each other what they were going to do, the leaders. Like most of that was our only chance, is if like they all of a sudden decided that was going to happen. And it worked. Like we came back and beat them because I just told them, I was like, I have nothing to say to you at halftime. Like, you guys figure it out. Now, if I had said that to a bad team and did that, they would have probably fought each other in there.
Right.
Right. We had 2 losses to like 2 teams that were just as good as us to that point. And, some of it's just knowing your team. Like, that was a defining moment. And it still took a lot of luck for us to win that game. I mean, we hit a 3 at the buzzer that hit the back of the rim, went like 30 feet up in the air and came back down and went in to win the game. But like, that was our only chance, just to tell the guys, like, there's literally nothing I can tell you, and walked out at halftime.
Right.
Fix
Yeah.
it.
It's part of it is just learning how to read the room too. There's like, I've come to timeouts and not said anything. I've literally sat in the timeout and just looked at them.
I coached with a guy that told me, he goes, one of the best things you can do when you have that team that you hate, that think they all know more than you and they won't win games because they won't put in. He goes, just don't say anything in the pregame. He goes, all of a sudden the kids are going to start losing and be like, Coach, you got to give us what the game plan is. Oh, you think that we need a game plan? You think we need this stuff? Now, I wouldn't try that when I was good in a big game. But like, if you're having a season that like you have nothing to lose, might be a good one to try.
Right.
Like,
And I've done that with I've done the no talk and a timeout with really good teams. Like, I've just come in and just looked at them, just the disapproval dad look, and said nothing for a minute. Just looked at each one of them, because then they know it's like, holy crud, is he mad? Like, he doesn't even have anything to say to us. Like, and then
what do you do?
Yeah.
We had a game this year where we had made 15 threes the game before, and we start off the game 0 for 15 from the 3-point line. What am I going to do? Tell the guys they're not playing hard enough?
Right.
I'm like, hey, we just got to figure out a way to win. We just got to figure out.
Yeah, that's the key, is when the ball's not going in the hoop, how can you win? Because at some point here, there's 2 things on a tournament trail that's going to happen. You're either going to get a bad whistle, or the ball's not going to go in the hoop like it should. If you're going to win the whole thing, at some point on the trail, that's why I don't really worry about officials as much as I used to, because at some point you're going to get hosed on officials, and or the ball's not going to go in the hoop. You got to win that game. and because that might be that of the 8 games, you got to win that game, because it's going to happen. They're going to tighten up. The ball's not going to go in. The officials are going to hose you, whatever it is.
That's interesting that you say that, because my team completely folds when one mistake's made. One mistake turns into 2. 2 turns into a whole snowball effect. And then by then, my guys seem to fold. And, I try to drill it in them. Guys, I mean, if you're playing underneath me, you're not quitting until that last buzzer sounds. But I mean, the best players they get all emotional and pouty, and I can't. I try coaching it out of them, but man, they are how they are. And I've literally been struggling with that my entire career at Anna.
I think one of the things that I've learned too is you can overcoach. You can really overcoach. Even when you don't have talent, you can overcoach. So there's that fine line between giving them enough but not too much. There's this line that you got to kind of walk. And it's not necessarily an easy one, but.
And Steve, and here's a great book to read. I already told you about this when Steve in the interview did podcast, 48 Laws of Power, just totally about psychologically manipulating people. Hey, all right. My wife just bought me the mastery one too, which she has like 3 or 4
what's the name of it? I'm going to see if it's on Audible because I don't read much.
48 Laws of Power. This is the one that you couldn't believe the number of reviews it had. It's like one of the most famous books. It's been in leadership, but it's very controversial. Everybody either hates it, but it's got a lot of good psychological stuff of like how to manipulate people. Not all bad, but like how to. I think
I was going to try it on my wife later this week. See how that goes.
There's also a 48 Laws of Seduction by the same author. But it's all about like how do you get people to buy in, and it's a ton of history stuff. It is a really hard read. It is not super easy.
It's Robert Greene.
Yeah. And it's
Audible. There are
great coaching
1,000 reviews on Audible. It's 23 hours.
Yeah.
That's longer than Brock's book almost.
Yeah, it's like a Bible. It's a lot like a Bible.
And I mean, there's
I'm gonna buy it on I'm buying it right now on Audible. So
there's also like every page has stuff written on the sides of the pages, so it's like but it's like you can look at something. Like I even sometimes just browse the chapters and look at things, and it's like how to control your boss, or like, and not necessarily all in a bad way, and then they go through ways to reverse it, but a lot of it's like the psychological stuff that you have to do to be a good coach. Like, how do you get your kids to practice hard on a Saturday morning, 8:00 practice, or a tough game? Or like, Will, you're talking about your kids are folding. My team was really good this year. Their whole junior year, same story. We found a way to lose every year. And I mean, that's the good thing about becoming a senior, but hopefully it wasn't seniors that were doing that. You'd be a lot better, but just that year of maturity or whatever. And I mean, there were so many times that I would even reference that this year. I'm like, hey guys, remember last year when we were up 12 versus this team when they were better than us, and then they just beat the crap out of us in the second half? I'm like, that's exactly what we're going to do to them this half. They bought in. Like I've just quit telling my kids we're not playing hard enough. Like very rare do I say that. Like it's because like I'm not playing kids that don't play hard. Like that's one of my biggest things. Like I hate that when people are like, we just didn't play hard enough. The Bulls said that after one game. Are you kidding me? Wendell Carter, like you think playing hard was the reason why you guys lost your first game in the NBA?
Well, it's like telling a kid to be a leader and not telling him what a leader is. It's like if I'm not going to tell you to play hard unless I tell you what playing hard means. Like, and it's like playing hard means you should actually have a drip of sweat on your forehead. Like, are you
closing out like 13 times in the fourth quarter?
Right.
Like stuff that they don't just always get.
And a lot of times playing hard is misconceived as hesitation of really not knowing what they're supposed to be doing a lot of times. So it's usually a lot that I didn't explain something right, or that's what I found. I watch film a lot, so I get to see.
Film's a great lesson. Film's great.
The only way, because they'll just watch themselves. It's perfect with this generation of player.
It is. I'm just not a big. It's so hard to scout on film. Other than the statistics is good, but I have to see people in person. I just like.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, because you can't really scout.
Hard. Yeah. It's hard to tell how tall they are, how quick they are. I mean, you can kind of tell, but it's like you can't really tell. Or at least I can. Maybe I'm old, but.
That's what we didn't get to. I think I only got to scout like 3 teams because we went to 31 games, like everybody plays Tuesday, Friday, Saturday. Like there were only like 3 Saturdays we didn't play the whole year. We had a couple of Fridays.
Oh God, you don't even get to see people then. Yeah.
But it does drive me nuts. The same stuff Steve's talking about with height and like just how quick they are. And
yeah, you got to find a really good scout then at that point.
It does make it easier to lie to my own team. I think like when
I tell them, I say, I'll never lie to you. I tell them this. I will never lie to you guys. So it's like there's a team in our league that's not very good. I'll never tell you that they're good. However, you know,
this is how they could beat us.
This is if they do this, they could beat us. We're better than they are, you know.
I'd always say if they don't take the team seriously, they're going to get beat regardless, whether the team is mediocre,
teams in our league,
or
we wouldn't even have to take them seriously. And
I mean, we had one game where, I mean, we easily could beat this team 50, 60 points. And I mean, we go into halftime and they're literally within 2 or 3 points of us. And I'm like, guys, we told you at the beginning of the game, you're not taking it seriously, and look where you're at now.
Right. Hey, Coach, hope you're liking the video. If you are, make sure you hit like down below. That helps us a ton. Also, make sure you subscribe and hit the little bell up above. You'll get a notification every day when we put our new video up. Go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. I know. I agree.
We go football, trust the process on that. We focus on how we play. Because I mean, when you're bad, it's easy to do that because we you know, there's a lot of games we're not gonna be in. And you know, I try to talk to them about, hey, you know, are we playing the right way? Are we sharing the ball? Are you moving on defense?
You got to make many games within the game, Coach. Like, can we win this? Let's go win this court. I'm telling you, because
one big thing I'll do, like in a situation like that, I'll say, okay, guys, let's get 3 stops and 3 good shots, and then let's just see where let's look at it from there. Just break it down like
the game is many little games, just like the game on the court is literally a 2 or 3 man game. The game within the game is so important. Like, I'll do this down the stretch, and I've said this on my podcast. It's like I'll come to a timeout and they'll know what I mean. I'll go stop, score, stop, we win. And they'll go, what do you mean? Well, we'll do this in practice. Stop, score, stop. Like just that, because they can put that in their little brains at that age, the goldfish brain. Like, okay, all I got to do is get a stop and then a score and then stop and we win. I go, yes, you know, or score, stop, score.
So much more important than what half court offense. Like, getting a score, stop, score. We track kills, which is 3 stops in a row. Like there's certain years where that's like a huge thing for us.
Yep.
Like coming out of a timeout, like, hey, let's get a kill right here. 3
I love that. You just call it kill.
I like that. Yes. I love that.
I wish I could say I invented that. Didn't I?
I know. I'm stealing that though. I'm going to add that to my list. That spreadsheet I'm working on.
Kill. You can even track that through a game. Like, hey guys, we didn't win this game because we had 3 kills in the whole game.
Right. And how many kills do you normally get in a high school game?
Yeah, I don't really track them like for the whole game, and really I don't even necessarily always track it. We just talk about it. Like we have tracked it in the past, but that was my old school long time ago, so I couldn't even tell you what it was.
That'd be interesting. I might go back and watch that. That might be something to watch too as we're doing the other stuff.
Because I mean, I love the math concepts you were talking about earlier, Steve. Like it is a game of math. Like we shoot the ball pretty well, and even when we're bad, and we beat a lot of people because we take good shots no matter what team I have. Like
I'm telling you, don't turn the ball over and shoot the ball well. You'll win most of your games.
Like
turn the ball over.
My worst shooting guard I've had, well, that was allowed to shoot at all. I might have had 1 or 2 that like just knew he couldn't shoot. Like he would never have even shot one. My worst shooting guard led us in 3-point shooting percentage because the only thing he would shoot was a perfectly set up kick out 3, and he would still get 1 a game. Like he would still get, like he made like 24 threes on the season, and literally the only thing he was allowed to shoot was the rebound that got kicked right out to him, and he knew, and he got really good at it.
No, I know. I'm telling you, like in I played Division III basketball and at Lawrence, and I'm like number 9 in shooting percentage all time. And the only reason is because I only took shots that were good, because that was my role. Like, I mean, I was a 3-year captain. I was like, I started a little bit. I was 6-man, but I knew that I could only take good shots. Like,
I'm working
if
on
I wanted to
something
play,
right
I
now.
could take good shots. Yeah.
Like one of the shooting things I'm working on right now is like so to track 100 shots in our drills that we do that are pretty much so stationary drills. So like, and I wouldn't do necessarily 100 in a row, but we have 4 or 5 drills, a couple we do every day that are just getting reps. They're really easy. You're set. You should be making a real high percentage. And I'm going to track those. And then I'm going to make you do crazy shit to then catch the ball and shoot and show you just how hard it is to shoot off the run. So like instead of just catching and shooting from these 5 spots and rotating after so many, you have to run and touch a different sideline every single time. Or we'll do 3-on-3 and I go, okay, guys, here's this first drill. It's going to be tough. You have to shoot the catch on the screen. So like this guy's going to set the pin down. It has to be a catch, shoot 3. And like they're shooting like fadeaway threes, like hard stuff. Like first it teaches them to actually use the screen, but then like we're just beating into them of like you can't shoot hard shots and expect to win.
No, and it's like I'm telling you right now, my son, I could put my son, he hasn't shot in a while, but he could shoot 60-70% from 3 if I just put him on the machine and just stands there. Like, it's in an empty gym. There's no one defending him. It's like that's what they think they're shooters too. It's like, how many of those shots you get a game? Maybe one. Like that
If
you're
you're
wide.
good, it's hard to yeah.
Yeah.
My best shooter should be taking the hardest shots because he's going to have their best defender on him. He's not going to get, but like even my best shooter last year, he ended up the season over 40%, but he was shooting like 18% after 6 or 7 games. And I just showed him film, like, let's look at these shots. I'm like, you had taken 2 hard ones in a row. So then you got this kick out 3 and you didn't want to shoot a third 3 in 3 possessions.
Right.
So you drove and that's why you don't take those other ones. And that's a huge number of game. And like getting the kids to figure out like you have to be able to shoot it at over 33% to even be a threat in the 3-point game.
Right.
Like one kid's like, well, I was the 3rd best shooter on the sophomore team. 1, you guys won 6 games. All right. So you weren't good. And 2, you shot 22%. Like, that's not good. Like,
right. I could shoot 22% with my eyes closed from 3, probably, if you point me toward the basket. It's like, I know.
But like we've even gone to the point of like we do drills like 4-on-3. Like the only thing we're taking is wide open threes. We'll track the shots in there. Like, guys, hey, in this drill, we shot 62% because year after year, we shoot 60% on kick out threes to guys that are set up. Right. We shoot below 25% on everything else. And like, that's like this year.
So you're running your offense to get those shots then.
Yeah, we do a ton of spacing. We'll throw in some dribble drive. Like you've seen some of my quick hitters. They're all about spacing. Who did they leave? Kick out 3.
And that's what I'm going to you, coach. You got to teach them to shoot the youngsters, because then when they get to you, you'll be able to do that. Yeah.
Right.
Let me ask you all a question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you all get mad at your players if they don't shoot the ball? I get upset if my players are wide open and they choose to either try to dribble or try to pass it off, and they're wide open and they won't shoot.
Yeah, because it took me 6 months to get my kids to shoot the ball when I first took this job, because they had been so bad. None of them wanted to be the one, because when they missed a shot, they felt like they were messing up. And I'm like, guys, like, you got to, like, the name, I tell them this all the time. I said, what's the name of the game? And they say it's basketball. I said, so the idea is to put the ball in the basket. Like, it's not rebound ball, it's not defense ball. Like, we want to do those things, and we're going to practice those things. But at the end of the day, we're trying to get the ball in the basket, and you can't score if you don't shoot. Like, all you're going to do is turn it over. If you pass up a good shot, you're going to either end up with a bad shot or you're going to turn the ball over. And if you throw the ball to your grandmother in the 3rd row, we got no chance to score. If you shoot it at the basket, it might go in. And it took me 6 months to get them to do that.
Yeah, John, what Jonathan was just saying, my very first couple of years, we had to get guys to shoot that, because if we threw 2 more passes, it was going the other way.
Right.
Like, that was advantage to us to actually shoot it. Maybe even if it's 20%, we had over a 50% chance to get the rebound. We had like a 0% chance to throw 2 or 3 more passes and get it. I'm working on a lot of stuff now of like decision training on shooting. Like, I'm gonna give it to Steve to put on Teach Hoops, but like, I was even listening to some guys talk about that today, of like, everybody thinks they know how to coach the game of basketball. You talk to anybody that's ever played, they're like, well, if I could work with that guy, like, he would be really good. It's not that easy.
No.
Like, we're trying to get stuff. We do a ton of advantage, disadvantage drills. So like, we'll even do 4 offensive players against 3 defensive players, and like trying to get them the reads of like why that was the shot. Like, yes, I was somewhat open with the guy closing out on me, but this guy right over here had nobody on him, and I made that one more pass, and like doing stuff. I'll share right now what I was actually working on. I'm gonna make some changes to this, but it's a PDF of our, like, kind of our shooting thing, where it's like not only like prove it that you can shoot easy shots, but then it kind of goes through what we do. I'm going to go through a thing on Teach Hoops about like how much time we do spend on shooting, because like, I used to not do very much of it at all, but now I try to do a ton of shooting, even in our offensive and defensive drills. Like, how can I work?
I think this COVID world, I think this is something my coaches and I were talking about. It's like, because my guys haven't really played together. They've been playing a little bit, but they haven't been playing together. I said, when we get them, we're doing till November next year is shoot, like, and let them play. I'm gonna literally make them play together so they get used to like the stuff we were talking about. But the stuff you're doing with the shooting stuff is awesome. I already shared some of it with them. It's great.
I'm making some changes to the 5 ways, because I was thinking about some stuff today. Yeah, let me just change this. But like, I was golfing with a guy a couple of years ago. It's a really good coach in Naperville, and he's like, he doesn't coach anymore, but he's like, yeah, we weren't very good last year. They still won like 24 games. But he goes, we didn't have anybody shoot over 40%. I was like, that's ridiculous, 40%. And he's like, yeah, every year we have like 2 or 3 guys that shoot over 40% from 3. I'm like, what? But then I started to remember they were really good every year. But and my teams didn't really shoot the ball very well. But like, it's like, I think a lot goes into it. I was just reading a guy talk about free throws the other day, and they were talking about a thing they're even doing in the NBA. Of this was like working one-on-one with guys. They would even have them like start practicing trying to make the ball on the left side of the rim. Like, we're going in on the left side, just not because that was how they would ever shoot or anything, but just the mental part of like changing something. And then he talked about, I remember it was Steve Nash or somebody who was a phenomenal free throw shooter, used to change his routine every like 2 or 3 weeks, because he figured out that kept him mentally fresh to be able to like make the adjustments. Now,
I like that.
Most of us are talking to kids of like, get one routine, not like some crazy thing.
So part of it is we just want them to get a routine, like.
But like, I've started even looking through some stuff on like some like actual decision stuff. I'm going to share this right now. This should work. Somebody check it out to make sure it does. And I've got a ton of more stuff. But like, we'll start off practice with like this. I got it from a guy last year. We call decision-making shooting. I'll draw this up real quick. Simple.
It works, coach. It works.
It adds a decision to the shot. So you can do this with more than 3 guys, but this guy has the ball. You have a guy here. He can throw it to either guy, and he can close out on either guy. So if he throws it here and closes out, he makes the pass, shoots, he becomes the rebounder. All right. If he throws it to this guy and closes out here, that's a catch and shoot.
Oh, I
So
like that.
all that.
Yeah.
What do you call that?
We call it 2-on-1 shooting. So like if I throw it here and I close out here, that's a catch and shoot. And it's really simple. We might do that for 2 minutes right after another drill, like doing something else.
Like that.
Like I'm real big on like, hey, are we in 6 guys? I can do 2 groups of this really quick. There's some other ones in there. Like we do a Bradley Beal drill every day, which like is just for time, which I think is good.
I like the Bradley Beal. I've done that too.
Like I used to do the like, hey, just shoot 10 shots and rotate. That does nothing.
Does
Like,
nothing.
yeah.
Do you have the one you just put on here? Is that on the sheet?
Yeah, it's on there. It should be.
What do you call it?
2-on-1 shooting. I think it should be on there.
2-on-1.
You know what? It might be at the very bottom in decision-making drills.
I like that. I do a lot of 3-person shooting.
Yeah, it's 2-on-1 shooting. It's page 15.
Yeah, let me share this real quick because I can go through these real quick. But like, so simple, and you can have 4 guys and another guy. So if 3 shot the ball, you would just go right in behind 4. So like, if you don't have to have exactly 3 guys. You can easily have 2 groups going in a rim. But I'll tell you what, when we did this, we became so good at making the extra pass. And that's always been a thing I've talked about of like, guys, why not just throw that extra pass? And all of a sudden, like
I have tracked that.
We got really good at that. Here was another one that I've just started. I took another drill that I've been doing and added this. So like it was read the closeout. So like if like we're just going dummy defense. This isn't real defense. But if like the closeout stops short, that was your signal to shoot. Or if he didn't come out at all, that was a catch and shoot. If he comes out to the left, you drive to the right. Like that seems really obvious to us. But my kids constantly still just do their move. Like they just catch, go right, catch, go left if they're a left-hander. This was the one we always did before. This was like a Rick Torber, I think that's his name, isn't that the guy bat? He talked about this at a camp I was at of like, the guy flies out, you shot fake. If he goes right, you go left, like that type of thing. And we used to do that, and I added the other one. This is a basketball immersion thing. He actually has a huge packet he'll give you for free if you go to their website or sign up for their newsletter or whatever. And this is his big thing on decision making.
Yeah.
So like if I pass it to you and leave my hands down, you like shoot. I forget exactly what all these.
Yeah, I've used those too.
My coaches were like, "This is so stupid. We shouldn't do this." And then I'm listening to guys say, "Well, you have to add decision making to improve shooting." And I'm like, "Hey, this would be a really simple way."
It is. I like the other one, the one you drew on the whiteboard, a little bit better for decision making than this. It's a little gimmicky. It does work, but it's like really hand down. I got to make it. I get that. I get that. I don't know a better way to do it, which is part of the issue. But I agree. It's like
but like adding. And like we do these we'll do like a drill for like 2 minutes.
Right.
Like that 2-on-1 shooting. This is a great warm-up drill.
Yeah.
Like we'll do something and then like we'll throw that in. Like we do a ton of like this became we had a great team against zone this year. And I thought this was one of them. We would just go 4-on-3. And while, it's really easy, but it like all of a sudden started showing our guys what kind of shots we should get against the zone. And it's a prove it shooting drill. So like we can sit there and track. We'll tell them like, hey, count how many makes you had at your basket. And we're going to do 25 possessions. So we would have a percentage of what they got. And we're like, guys, look, when we're shooting wide open shots, we're shooting 64%. When we're shooting threes off the dribble, we're shooting like 10%. But like even fun stuff, like this old UCLA shooting, a lot of people have done this forever. But like I got this from somebody else. We add a half court shot at the end, and the kids think it is the greatest freaking drill of all time.
Whenever you let them do something stupid like that.
They will bust their ass in this stupid shooting drill just so they can make a half court shot. and we'll like do push-ups on it. Some team will be drilling somebody, lose the drill on a half court shot, and they are happy to do 10 push-ups. But I will say we had a kid getting interviewed for the NBC Chicago Player of the Week, and all you saw in the background was my kid shooting half court shots at practice for a 30-second clip. People are texting me like, what the hell? You guys are practicing half court shots at practice? I'm like, hey, it's a fun drill. But here's that Bradley Beal drill we do like every day. And my kids get mad if we don't do this drill. So you have to make 3 from each of the 5 spots. And then you have to make 5 in a row, like starting at 1 all the way to 5, or starting at 5 all the way to 1. My record's like 52 seconds. A kid missed his first 2 and made 20 in a row. But you have to get it done in under 2.5 minutes. Buzzer sounds at 2.5 minutes, switch shooters. In like 5 minutes and 10 seconds, we just got up 50 shots for 2 kids. Like just getting, and it's like quick stuff.
I love that.
Another one we do all the time is 3-man 2-ball shooting, but it's 5 minutes and you have to make as many as you can in 3 minutes. And like my best group, okay, you guys have to get 71 today. And they're like, well, 72 is the record. I'm like, hey, I didn't say it was going to be easy.
Right.
Like, and then I got this from a girls coach in Chicago. We started adding stuff at the end because, end of the season, it starts to get a little old. And like I said, hey, the last minute, one person has to be designated as the rebounder. So like they have to pick who the worst shooter is in their on the kids. They have to do that.
It's like Lord of the Flies, man. Who's gonna like survive? And
I had a kid that was a 42% shooter in varsity basketball rebounding because his teammates thought they were better shooters than him, and they were. And in another basket, they're like, we all 3 equally are terrible. I don't know who we're gonna pick here, but I think that's got some good stuff. And
I love that.
Steve, actually, you spoke at the clinic. I saw you at a clinic at DuPage Community College a long time ago. But this guy, I think he was from Newcastle, did this one where it's just 1 man, 1 ball, and you have 2 minutes to make as many threes as you can. We usually change it to 1 minute, and we would even do this as like a like when we were going to do a walkthrough before we went and played in a game. Like we might play over Christmas,
right?
Like want to get guys kind of woke up. We would do that, but it's hard. It's really hard because you don't get set up.
Record is 21 for 2 minutes.
2 minutes. My kid that set that hit like a 3 throwing it over his head backwards and it made like 4 threes in his whole varsity career. Somehow set that.
I love this. I want you to do I got to get you to do a blog post for this. This is great stuff.
But like, here's the one we were going to do for like, I'm going to make it as hard as possible. After every shot, you have to touch a line. And I'm going to show you exactly how hard it is to run around like crazy and catch and shoot compared to kicking out. Because our whole program philosophy is we love kick out threes and we will make 60% of them every year. Even like even in years where we were not that good, we thought if like 12 of our 15 threes in a game were kick out threes, we were still going to make 6 or 7 of them.
Right. And then you're in the game because you make your free throw. Yeah.
And like this drill, 3 in a row, great drill in the summer. Never would do this during the season. I had a kid get to like 400 in this drill, but you just keep shooting until you miss 3 in a row.
Right. It's a time issue with that one. I've had issues with that one. The kids never left the corner. Like
I was like, I was at camp we did this with an hour left to go. And I was like on the 12th hole and my assistant said, hey, so-and-so just won that drill with 400 and something. And he did it because he wanted to beat his brother and he had started over at some point. And then they'll like go and do these on their own. Sometimes even they're like, dude, I'm beating your score. And like, yeah, like the Bradley Beal one, like I think it's, what's the Neighbors guy that's a coach at Arkansas?
Mike Neighbors, the Arizona.
Mike Neighbors.
Yeah, he's good.
We kind of always called it shooting mania because that's what he called it.
Yeah.
They wanted to add competition to their shooting, and that's helped us a lot. But I think a lot of it goes into, and I'm doing some stuff on there too, of like what goes into like getting your kids to actually take good shots. Like we were supposed to play a really tough team in the second round of a Christmas tournament last year, and they were really good. But I'm sitting there scouting them. I'm like, these guys are not going to win this game because they just refuse to take smart shots.
Right.
They could all shoot. They shot like 17% from three for the game, even though they were one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the tournament, because every shot they took was ridiculously
Right. It wasn't a good shot. I know. It's like that green light, red light, yellow light kind of thing. It's like that's neighbors too. It's like, who has the green light, who has the yellow light, who has the red light.
Can I share one more thing real quick?
For sure.
Let me go to this. Let's see here. So like this was a tournament where I thought we just moved the ball incredibly well. Let me share this. And I've just got like one that I'll clip stuff like this and just show them like, guys, this is a highlight film of what we want to do. And like that drill 2-on-1 shooting is why we did that. Because in the past we would have never done that. And like we had 4 good shooters. Like, hey, why take a hard one? Like there were like 4 shots that most other teams that I've had would have probably already taken at that point.
It's that extra pass. If there's a way to put that in a bottle, because the good ones do it. Like that's an extra pass. That's the extra. I mean, you're not going to lose any games if you do that.
All 4 of those guys shot 40% from the 3-point line.
Right, but they knew they were open, but they really weren't open.
Yeah.
Like that's partly you though, coach, too, because they know what open is.
Now, these are the same guys as juniors that found a way to lose constantly. It's like, but we'll clip stuff like this. And then, but this kid with the ball right now, 3, I had a clip of him of like, hey, this is why you're struggling, and gave him like 10 shots in a row of just him that were like awfully hard shots. And he's like, I got it. And he still did it sometimes, but not as much.
Right. Showing them that stuff does like a lot of kids would have taken that corner shot there.
And I mean, we still did take some.
Yeah, they're kids. They're gonna do it. Yeah. They're probably gonna do it at the wrong time of the game, too, to be honest with you.
And I hadn't even thought about it. And we were playing one of those teams. That was a Martin Luther King tournament. And the guy's like, yeah, we've got no chance. I'm like, what? He's like, you guys pass the ball better than any team we've played. And like all of a sudden it just started to click to me. I was like, that is true. Like we are passing the ball, and like the guy's giving up a decent shot for a really good shot constantly.
And that can be taught too. That's the one thing that can be like I can't teach you to shoot the 3 maybe in 3 months, but I can teach you to make an extra pass or I
go
agree.
In half court offense. There's a ton of times in there where they had a job they were supposed to be doing after that pass, and they were reading the court and were like, why even do that? Because he's going to throw it right back to me and I'm going to hit a 3. Right. It was like, you guys just kind of keep passing it, do your thing. Those are 3 concepts we like to do on offense.
Right.
Don't worry about that cut necessarily, because you guys are seeing the game better than my offense is set up to actually win. And this year it's going to be like a completely different story if we play.
We're
not going to play. So.
I don't think so either.
Wilmite in Southern Illinois, it's not happening in DuPage County where I'm at. Unless it's summer. Like they're just going to say no chance.
Hey, Coach, so glad you enjoyed the video. Make sure you go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better, and subscribe and like. Have a great day.